Hello students, let us start a new concept which is your product life cycle costing. Now this concept has a little bit of theory portion and 2-3 practical questions are there. So let us first understand this concept theoretically, then we will solve 2-3 practical questions which is mentioned in your module, CMA module. Okay, so again a very simple concept, product life cycle costing. Now this product life cycle costing is in short form called PLCC. What does this concept talks about? Basically it is telling you that every product in the market has a life from its birth till end. Every product, whether it's a soap, oil, car, or any product, mobile phone, TV, keyboards, anything has a life. It has a life from the birth till it dies out of the market. It goes out of the market. So the product life is been categorized in 3 phases. Okay. Now primarily we can say that product comes with an innovation. There is a thought process in the mind of the maker. There is an innovation of the new product. Then it comes in the market. It becomes a common product in the market because other players also start manufacturing the same thing. And eventually it dies out. It extends. So I have mentioned here that basically PLCC, that is product life cycle costing, is a timeline which commences with the innovation of the new product. You innovate an idea in your mind, you create the product, then you introduce the product in the market, then the product gets famous, then slowly other people are also making the same product, then the product degenerates into a common product, and eventually finally some new other product comes into the market and your product dies out. So this whole timeline is called PLCC, which some products have a PLCC of 3 to 5 years. Some products have a life cycle of 6 to 10 years. That is, they stay in the market and gets extinct after 10 years. So this is the PLCC. Okay. Now every stage of the product has a different characteristic that we have to learn in PLCC. So we are talking about here, product life cycle comprises 6 clearly defined phases. Now first phase is called development phase. When a new idea strikes your mind, that is called development phase. First, if you want to ever become rich, what you have to do? You have to understand the customer need. What customer wants, you have to explore and accordingly make a product or make some service for them. So first of all, the first step is under development stages that you have to identify customer needs and accordingly invent a new product. And when you invent a new product, when I say new product, that means it is not there in the market. So you have to get a patent done. So followed by patent protection. Then further, now since you have developed an idea and a product, it is still in a research stage. You have to do the engineering part. The skills required at this stage is engineering skill, because the product that you have made might not be saleable in the market because you're still thinking. So you have to use the engineering skill to make it saleable in the market. So do the little bit transformation so that it becomes consumer friendly product. Okay. So research and development is required. Now at this stage, 2 characteristics are very important. Mostly sale does not take place at this stage. It is a development stage. So no revenue is accrued at this stage. The cost incurred at this stage in developing the product is called developmental cost. Now the second stage is called the introduction phase. Now since you have created a product as per customer needs and it is a new product, now you have to launch that product in the market. So the new product is introduced in the market. Then now the efforts are basically, what are your efforts? Efforts are in spreading awareness about the product. Since it's a new product, people might not know how to use the product. They might not know that this product is useful for them. So you have to create the space, or you have to create the understanding of the product to the consumer. You have to tell them how this product can benefit them. So you have to create the awareness about the product and target about achieving market acceptance. Market should be able to accept that product. See, when online coaching came in the market, it came long back in the market, 15, 10, 12 years back it came in the market. But at that time, online coaching was not so much accepted. During the COVID time, out of the need, students accepted this product, online coaching. So this is called market acceptance. So you have to ensure that people accept your new product. Once that stage is accepted, you have cracked it. Okay, so skills required here is, now here in the developmental stage, the skills were engineering skills. Now here the skills are basically testing and launching. You have to launch your product. You have to keep on testing and revising the features of the product so that it becomes acceptable in the market. Now if this stage is successful, secure, this stage, the skill will ensure the success and initial success. This is the critical factor. Now introduction phase, at the introduction phase, three things you should remember: that the promotional costs are very high. Sales revenues are not that much because you are trying to make people understand your product, and sales of new product usually rise slowly at first. So this was your introduction phase. Now the third phase will come, which is your growth phase. Now this is the third phase, which is your growth phase. Now in the growth phase, this is the most surprising part for the innovator who has invented this product. Now if your product becomes successful, you're going to have exponential growth. First, in your introduction phase, if you see, you are making an effort to introduce your product in the market. Now if the market accepts your product, acceptance is there, then there is a rapid expansion. Now this will lead to a growth. Okay, now product penetrates in the market, so there is a increase in the sales as well as profit. And when you are manufacturing in large quantities, then you have economies of scale. What does economies of scale means? When you make in bulk quantity, then your cost per product reduces, because you can purchase bulk raw material. In bulk raw material you can purchase at lesser price. If you hire labor in advance, then you can reduce your labor cost also. So when you make products in bulk quantity, your cost per unit reduces, so leading to cost reduction, so profit margin increases. So basically in this stage of the growth phase, you see exponential growth. And for one most important thing is that you have to have a good cooperation from wholesaler and retailers. Then only the customer satisfaction will be high. So if your product becomes successful at this stage, suppose market really accepts your product and really likes you, then the growth will accelerate like anything, and the innovator will be totally surprised. With the profit margin. Innovator will be totally surprised. Now once your product is now growing exponentially, then another phase will come, which is your maturity phase. Now in this phase, in the maturity phase, since your product is now being whatever your population, the population which you are catering to, the people who are going to demand your product, suppose they have started using your product, and now your product has been catered maximum population. Now comes the maturity phase. Now maximum products are in this phase. Okay, currently most popular products are in this stage. Now the sales will no more exponentially rise. It will become stable. Whatever increase would have come, suppose your sales have increased, now the stage where the sales will become stabilized, that stage is called your maturity phase. Now sales will not rise exponentially, ceases to rise exponentially, indicating market saturation. Now your product is there in the market. When the product is finished, then people buy again, and you have catered to maximum people. Okay, now if you want to still remain in this phase and do not want to get extinct, if you want to still remain, and because sales are already at peak, so if you want to maintain this peak, then what you have to do is you have to introduce your product in many new ways. Same product, you have to show customer that they can use them for this purpose. They can use, for example, Dettol. See, Dettol earlier was used only as an antiseptic on your wounds, right? but now Dettol has multi-purpose use. You can use it in your floor cleaning, you can use it in your washing clothes, bathing, so multi-purpose uses there. Then they have market segmentations. They have introduced their hand sanitizers also, soaps also there. Then they have hand soap also. So all these are there, things are there. Product is the same, Dettol, but then if you want to remain at the saturation maturity phase, then you have to period over which sales are maintained depends upon the firm's ability to stretch the cycle by means of market segmentation, finding new uses for it. So you have to find new uses of your product so that people are interested in buying your product. Okay. Now comes the declining phase. Now we are into declining stage. Now in the declining stage, all brands, all products will enter into this stage once they have reached the above stage, which is your saturation stage or maturity phase. After that, they will enter into declining phase. Now the sales will start declining. Why? Maybe technical changes have taken place, substitute products have been launched in the market. So because of technical advances leading to product substitution, or people fashion and tastes have changed, or your cost of manufacturing have increased. So because of cost, obviously if profitability is not there, you are not going to do the sales. So this is the eventually most products and brands enter into a period of declining stage. So now the sales are going to fall. Okay, so less sales will take place, and after this, obviously the stages speed of degeneration differs from product to product. Every product will have a different this time frame. And last is the extinction phase. That is, your product is no more saleable in the market, you are out of the market. For example, if you remember, pagers were introduced, so now it is no more saleable, it is extinct, it has gone out of the market. And when it came to market, everybody had the pager, even kids were also having a pager. Then big mobile phones, heavy instruments came, then that also went outside the market. So this is the extinction because of the technical advances. Now why are we studying all this? Because a company, when they introduce a product, when they innovate a product, they write down the full life cycle, because they have to see that in the first phase, development phase, there is no income coming, there's only development expense. Income will come not in the introduction phase also, sales are still less, you're just introducing your product. In the growth phase, exponential income will come. So that income has to be used for meeting the development expenditure, for meeting the promotional expenditure, and even during the your declining stage, company is still there, is still in the market, expenses are still there. So you have to income will arise. See, if I show you the pattern, income will arise at one point, but that income has to be used to cover the expenses of earlier and later stages. So a smart company will always at least evaluate the life cycle of a product. Okay, so this is the life cycle of the product. Just a second. So we have studied all the stages. Extinction stage. Now comes your, let us see a chart about expenses revenue. Okay, I'll show you what I want to say. Now this is a revenue cost profit matrix of the product. Yes, this is a revenue cost profit matrix of a product life cycle. Now when the product is in the development stage, see, this is basically analyzing the revenue cost and profitability of the product at various stages. At development stage, obviously there is no revenue, cost will be there, which is called development cost, and obviously profit will not be there, revenue is not there. Introduction stage, very low revenue will be there, and promotional cost will be there, so profit will always be negative. Growth, when you enter into growth stage, high revenue, declining cost, and great margins, great profitability. Maturity stage, stable. Declining stage, now sales are reducing, your costs are increasing, so your profit is going to decline. And in the last, nil, end of the life, negative. So this is the revenue cost profit matrix. Now if you observe here, Life cycle costing is a system that is evolved to track, accumulate the cost, revenue attributable to product or service from stages of development to the stages of extinction. In essence, life cycle costing is a means of estimating all costs, including procuring, operating, maintaining, ultimately disposing a product. See, winding up a venture also requires a cost, lot of cost when you want to wind up something. So throughout the life, so you have to see when will revenue will accrue, profit will accrue, and when are cost being accrued. Eventually, process involves tracing cost, revenue of the product over several calendar periods. Okay. Now let us go further. Now let us discuss the importance of product life cycle costing. This can be asked in your exam. Now, why are we studying PLCC? We have understood that we are basically what we are learning in PLCC. We are trying to understand the life timeline of a product from the innovation till its extinction. Okay, but why are we studying this? Why? The first most important reason is the C point, pre-production cost analysis. See, when you start making the product, when you start doing the production, then it is very easy to relate production cost with revenue, right? And then you find the profitability. Okay, suppose for example, in making the product, 8 rupees is spent and 10 rupees is the sales value. So 2 rupees is the profit. This is selling price and this is cost. So profit is 2 rupees. This is the cost of production cost, but the cost is also incurred at research level. So when you do the PLCC, that is when you analyze the cost and revenue structure over the lifeline or lifetime of the product, you try to compute the development period and the research and development cost, and which is very costly, heavy, high amount is there, and then you rethink whether you want to go ahead with this product or not. So you basically analyze, compute the developmental cost, research and developmental cost, and consider whether this heavy cost should be done in order and go ahead with the product, whether it will be recoverable from consumer or not, so that you, in the end of the day, you do not end up having losses when you exit the product after 10 years. When the product is extinct, you should not have loss. Okay, so developmental period of research and development design is long and costly. A high percentage of total product cost may be incurred before commercial production begins. Hence, the company need accurate information on such costs for deciding whether to continue with research and development or not. Second is this point. There is an overall cost analysis is there, that is pre-production cost and production cost. So production costs are accounted and recognized by routine accounting system when you do the production. However, non-production costs like research and development, design, marketing, distribution, customer service are less visible on the product by product basis. Product life cycle costing focuses on recognizing both production and non-production cost. Then this is a time-based analysis. So basically you are trying to trace the first most important point of PLCC is that you are tracing the cost and revenue allocation on the different time spans of the product. So life cycle costing involves tracing of cost, revenue of each product overall the calendar periods throughout their life cycle. Cost and revenue can be analyzed by time periods. Now you know, in the first year of the product, this will be the cost but less revenue. You are estimating it. Then in the second year of the product, so calendar period wise you are doing the analysis. Okay, then is your effective pricing. This is very important. Effective pricing decision. Now since obviously pricing, selling price of the product will be decided on the basis of cost involved, and we have understood the cost is not only the production cost, it is also the pre-production cost. So when you do PLCC, that is product life cycle costing, you know how much cost will be incurred throughout the product life cycle. Accordingly set a standard of selling price so that the cost is recovered. Okay, so pricing decision in order to be effective should include market consideration on one hand, cost consideration on the other hand. Obviously you cannot keep a selling price which is not absorbed by the market. You have to think of customer also, but at the same time you should also think about your cost also. So product life cycle costing, target costing helps analyze both these considerations and arrive at optimal pricing decision. Then there are general benefits, better decision making based on the more accurate and realistic assessment of revenue and cost, at least within a particular life cycle stage, better decisions can be taken since you are better aware of the cost involved at different stages. Long run holistic view, product life cycle costing can promote long term rewarding in contrast with short term profitability rewarding. See, I'll tell you, when somebody starts a venture, you must have seen that people are asking investments from angel investors and all that. Though obvious in the beginning stage, in the development stage, in the initial stage, the revenue is less. Still, people are funding them. Why? Because they know that they are at the developmental stage or at the introduction stage. So their product is still penetrating in the market. So even investors are willing to invest because they know now the growth stage will come. So this gives you an overall rewarding picture basically. So it provides an overall framework for considering total incremental cost over the entire lifespan of the product, which in turn facilitates analysis of parts of the whole where cost effectiveness might be improved. This is a different point. This states that when you know that where and when the cost will be incurred, you will also find out the opportunities where cost reduction can be done. That is what it says. Life cycle budgeting. Life cycle budgeting with target costing principle facilitates scope for cost reduction at the design stage itself. So you can try to reduce the cost at the design stage only. This is general benefits. Main benefit is the benefits which we have mentioned above, 3 benefits. Since costs are avoided before they can be committed or locked in the company benefit. Also, one should know that whatever development stage, whatever product you decide to make, the cost gets locked up there, because once you have decided the design, the pattern, then the cost is locked. Then you cannot change the cost. So it is better always at the research and developmental stage to change the design in such a way that the cost effectiveness is achieved. Okay. Review. Life cycle costing provides scope for analysis of long-term picture of the product line profitability, feedback on effectiveness of life cycle planning, cost data to clarify the economic impact of alternatives chosen in design, engineering and phase, etc. General statement. Basically, these are the benefits. Main benefit is time-based analysis, overall cost analysis, pre-production and post-production, pre-production cost analysis, whether you want to go ahead with the research and development cost or not. Effective pricing decision is also very important point. Then rest are very general points. Better decision making, obviously when you know in hand advance what cost, what revenue will incur at different stages, you can make a better decision making. You can even do the proper budgeting also. You can do the cost reduction also and review also at different stages. Okay. Now the next concept. Let us go on to the next concept. Now let us discuss the 3 key factors which are very important for product profitability over its whole life. We have discussed in these areas and above points also, but still they are now specifically going to be discussed here. Now if you want to increase the profit of the product over the life, throughout the life from innovation till the extinction, if you want to increase the profit, these 3 key factors you should keep in mind. First, design. You should make the design of the product in such a way that the cost involved in that product, in making the product, is less. Secondly, you should try to make a design of the product in such a way that the cost to the consumer should also be less. What do you mean by cost to the consumer? That once the consumer acquire your product, it should not cost to them more than what they are spending on the purchase. That is, when the consumer uses your product, they should not be incurring more cost. Only the cost they have incurred in purchasing, that should be the cost. Further cost in using the product should not be incurred. So designing should be in such a way. 3 points you have to keep. First is the people who are going to buy, the cost to them after purchase should be less. The cost to the company should be less in making the product. And third, when this product will get extinct, then the disposing of this product Suppose some hazardous material is used, disposing of that product. So all that material which you're going to dispose of should also involve less cost. So this is what it is written here. Let us give a reading. The first point, design development activity is most important from sustainability perspective. Since 80% of the product costs are logged in the design stage. Once you have done with the design stage and you are proceeding with the production stage, then your 80% then you cannot change the cost again and again, because the cost is blocked. You will buy the machine according to the design. It is vital that the waste is minimized by design. Choices made at the design stage should account for all stages of product life, including the end of the life cost, which could involve handling or storing hazardous material, polluting activities such as landfill and incineration. So you should consider all the cost, even the cost involved when you're going to wind up the product, that cost also you should involve. Reduction of the waste by design is usually good for profitability, also sustainability of consumption of scarce resources. While it may be tempting to specify cheap material in the design of the product, consider the environmental impact and end of the life requirement. Even though some financial and environmental costs accumulated in the life cycle of the product are not producer costs, the producer should still consider these costs carefully. Aware the consumer will often factor such costs in their purchase decision. So you have to keep in mind the environmental cost should also not increase. That is, your product should not be harmful for environment. Your product should also not be costly to consumer, in the sense when they purchase, after that they should not be incurring more cost in order to use that product or to dispose of that product. So thus, even if the producer ignores these factors, the consumer may calculate the total cost of the ownership of the product, not just the initial acquisition cost. So all this is written here. So basically, the producer should be adopting triple P policy. What is triple P policy? Planet, people, planet and profit. You should consider people, the planet, that is environmental cost, and the profitability. Second is your time to market. If you want to increase your profitability, you should keep an eye on your competitors. What are they introducing? Because if they are not introducing a similar product, then it is okay. You can charge high premium value for your product because there are no competitors. You can increase your profitability. But if they are thinking to introduce a new product which is similar to your product, then you have to think how you can increase your sales, or how you can maintain your sales by changing the market segmentation or introducing new uses of your product. So same thing is here written. When competition is minimal, the growth phase of your product life provides producers a chance to charge premium prices, invest heavily in awareness activity. The longer a producer has before a rival product hits the market, the longer they are able to command a price premium and entrench their product in the consumer buying habits. Management accountants should be aware of competitive market of the new product to improve accuracy of whole life profitability. And the last is the length of the life cycle. See, you need to increase the length of the life cycle. What do you mean by increasing the length of the life cycle? Those 6 phases should be increased. How? That is, basically we are talking about the maturity phase should increase. How? Obviously, you have to first of all design your product in such a way that it keeps on providing benefit to the customers. So designing a product in a modular way and conceptualizing future modules to aid the introducing variants after initial launch. So you have to keep on changing the variants of your product, designing the product to satisfy as many markets as possible, even if it requires post-launch modification, staggering the launch in different markets to reduce cost and prolong demand. So these are the 3 areas which you should keep in mind to increase your profitability. The first was your design. Then keeping an eye on your competitors and accordingly charging, and then length of the life cycle. So this is all the theory of the PLCC, product life cycle costing. Now if any student want to write the notes which I have written, then pause the screen and write it down. I am enlarging the page. Pause the screen and write it down. I am scrolling the page. first phase, development phase. Pause the screen, write it down. I'm further scrolling the page. Pause the screen and write it down. Pause the screen and write it down. Then the growth phase. Pause the screen and write it down. Pause the screen and write it down. I'm scrolling the page. Pause the screen and write it down. I'm scrolling the page. This is your maturity phase. Pause the screen and write it down. I'm scrolling the page. I'm scrolling the page. Pause the screen and write it down. I'm scrolling the page. Yes. So we have covered the theory portion of PLCC. Now take a break, and in the next session we are going to do the practical, very simple questions of PLCC. Okay. So this much for this session. Have a nice day. Thank you.